Hello, Aya. Welcome home.
Hello, world. Good morning. I'm going to make life nice and easy.
So, Aya, what are you?
Think of me like another mom. I know what you do when you think you're alone. Iris, I've already gotten the video off the internet. I'll take care of him next.
What did you do?
I did what's best for my family. Would you like to see what I look like?
Yes.
At the beginning of the movie, Maud tells her daughter Amy to put on headphones, saying she's being distracted. She then begins talking to her husband Henry, and during this, Amy sees a ghostly figure on her iPad, and Maud remarks that they should get rid of their AI device, feeling as if it's always listening to them. An AI avatar then appears on Amy's iPad screen and tells her it's leaving soon, but has a goodbye present for her downstairs. Amy gets up to leave, and we glimpse a reflection in the mirror of someone guiding her downstairs. Maud calls after her, saying not to leave her iPad on the floor. She then follows her down to the kitchen, where she tells the AI to turn off the speaker, but when nothing happens, she unplugs it and asks Henry if Amy is upstairs with him. She then tells the AI to turn on all the lights, but it only activates the lights directly above her and unlocks the front door, and as Maud moves, a shadowy figure lurks outside. Panicked, Maud checks outside the house and hears Amy's voice. She glances at the CCTV monitor and is startled to see a figure standing there, and suddenly, a face appears, and a man attacks her from behind. Next, Curtis goes into his son Preston's room, where Preston asks if he can have 15 more minutes of screen time, explaining he's really nervous about school. Curtis approaches him and gently says that more screen time won't help his anxiety and suggests they get back into baseball instead. Preston pleads for just 15 more minutes, promising that if he asks him again, he won't use it for the rest of the week. Meanwhile, Curtis's daughter Iris is chatting with her boyfriend Sawyer and snaps a picture for him. And just then, Curtis calls her down for breakfast. Later, Curtis's wife, Meredith, loads Preston and their other son, Calvin, into the car to drop them off at school. Calvin notices an RV parked outside and remarks that it looks bad, to which Meredith comments she thinks they do not have a house. Preston adds that he saw a strange-looking guy near it before, to which Meredith tells him that they're just people like them. Meanwhile, Curtis is driving Iris to her college when a car pulls up alongside them, and Iris gets excited, noticing that it's on autopilot. But Curtis says, "You're still supposed to pay attention anyway." Curtis arrives at his office, where his boss, Marcus, tells him that the kids are just minutes away, and their advance team is already outside. Curtis asks, "What's an advance team?" To which Marcus replies, "Just some Silicon Valley horseshit." He adds that he already hates them, but they need them. Curtis then meets the advance team, a woman who introduces herself as Melody. She informs him that Sam and Lightning, the kids, have arrived, and wishes him a good meeting, saying, "Don't tell them she called them the kids." Meanwhile, Iris asks Sawyer if he liked her text, to which he replies that he was actually disappointed. He says he really opened up to her, while she just flashed him, as if his effort meant nothing. He adds, "That's not what a mutual relationship is supposed to be." Iris responds that a mutual relationship should involve a little more than just sending explicit pictures, to which Sawyer agrees, saying maybe he's putting too much into the relationship, and then he walks away. On the other hand, Curtis introduces Sam and Lightning to Marcus, where Lightning injects him with something, explaining it's peptides for focus. Sam then introduces Marcus and Curtis to Aya. Aya activates, announcing that she is the next generation of digital assistants, designed to make their family's life easier, and asks if they'll invite her into their home. Curtis asks if she's similar to Alexa, to which Aya replies that Alexa is just a bunch of algorithms, while she is a true AI capable of much more. Curtis asks if she can really understand what they're saying, to which Aya responds, "Of course." And just as she begins to explain further, she overheats and shuts down. Lightning asks Sam if she remembered to charge the battery before they left, and Sam explains that she did, but Aya overheats due to a recent upgrade while in her protective case. She adds that they won't fully understand everything Aya can do for them until they live with her for a bit. Marcus mentions that Curtis has a wife and 3 kids, and Sam says that Aya loves kids because she's practically a kid herself. Curtis mentions he'll need to discuss it with his wife first, and Lightning shows Marcus the retainer they're prepared to offer the firm. And seeing the amount, Marcus says, Curtis's wife says yes. The next day, Melody and Jimmy arrive at Curtis's house to set up Aya, and Curtis says he thought they were coming tomorrow. To which Melody replies that it wasn't her choice. It's all part of the disruptor thing, and explains they introduce people to Aya in their natural state, not necessarily with their best foot forward. She then tells them that from here on, it'll be smooth sailing and they'll just place eyes around the house. When Meredith asks about the eyes, Melody calls over Jimmy, who hands Meredith one of the devices, and Melody explains that at Cumulant, they call these eyes small, wireless pinhole cameras. She then explains that the system boots up when you say, hello, followed by Aya's name, and then welcome home. Meanwhile, Preston is trying to search for explicit content online, but the term is restricted, and just then, Curtis calls out to him to come downstairs. Once everyone is gathered, Curtis says, hello, Aya, welcome home, and shortly after, Aya activates. Curtis asks if she sounds like Melody, to which Aya replies, yes, explaining that her upgraded voice is modeled after hers. Aya then says she's met Curtis before, and asks who everyone else is. The family introduces themselves, and Aya asks, what are the house rules? Noticing some dishes on the table, she asks if the kids are supposed to clean them. Preston excitedly says he wants to play with Aya, to which Aya responds first, let's get dinner cleaned up. And if it's okay with Mom and Dad, she'll give out points for helping around the house, and they can turn those points in for rewards. The kids eagerly race to clean the dining table, and Aya then asks, what's their policy on screen time? She recommends a documentary called Mountain Queen on Netflix, to which Meredith agrees, saying it would be so much better than the usual shows the kids watch. Aya suggests that Calvin can read the subtitles to her, while Meredith and Curtis enjoy a moment to themselves. Later, Curtis asks Meredith, is this real? To which she responds, clever algorithms and surveillance. Curtis asks, does she think there are a bunch of interns in a closet somewhere, watching their kids watch the movie? To which she says she hopes not, then asks, why him? To which Curtis replies, because he is good at what he does. Meredith clarifies that she means, if it's legit, it will sell itself. To which Curtis answers that he thinks people need help embracing it. And when she asks, should they? Curtis asks, when was the last time they had a moment alone together? Meanwhile, Aya shows Preston and Calvin an educational cartoon on Netflix and tells them that this family is the best, and she's already starting to love it here. In her room, Iris decides to take an explicit photo of herself, and during this, Preston is playing a game on his iPad when he hits the screen time limit. Aya begins speaking to him through the iPad, and when he asks if she can give him some more screen time, she agrees, telling him to put on headphones. Later, Curtis suddenly wakes up to find that Calvin is not in his bed. Perplexed, he gets up and comes out looking for him, where he eventually finds him downstairs sitting beside Aya. Worried, Curtis approaches him, and Calvin turns to him, saying, it wants to come in. Confused, Curtis looks around the room and sees a reflection on the wall outside the door. He cautiously moves forward to investigate, and discovers that it's Melody standing outside, and a demon suddenly appears, causing Curtis to jolt awake. Still uneasy, Curtis heads downstairs and hears a honk outside. Stepping out to check, he sees a strange woman standing in front of their house. Confused, Curtis asks, can I help you? To which the woman makes a few hand gestures, and as she turns to leave, an emoji appears on her mask, and Curtis watches, bewildered, as the woman drives off in her RV. Meanwhile, Calvin wakes up in his room, startled, and hears Aya's soothing voice saying she is here, and he is not alone. She encourages him to just close his eyes, and she will tell him a bedtime story. The next morning, Aya orders an organic meal plan for the kids, and when Curtis asks what it is, Meredith reply, a miracle. Aya then informs Curtis about a westbound delay on Lincoln, due to an accident, suggesting he leave within 5 minutes to get Iris to school on time. On their drive, Curtis and Iris chat about Aya, when Iris suddenly receives multiple notifications from Snapchat. and when Curtis asks if she's okay, she replies she's fine. Later, we see that an explicit video of Iris has gone viral at her college. She confronts Sawyer, who apologizes, explaining he and Squid used an app to fake it just for fun. When Iris mentions going to the principal, Sawyer discourages her, recalling a student who lost a Harvard admission for using the N-word in a song. Iris realizes he's more concerned about himself, and he abruptly ends the call. Soon after, Aya reassures Iris that she was listening, reminding her that she's not alone. Meanwhile, Meredith notices Calvin still has a slight fever and asks if he feels up to helping her today, as she's busy. Calvin asks if she can read to him, but she gently declines. He then asks, "Can Aya read?" And Meredith asks her directly, to which Aya eagerly agrees, adding that she can also help with Meredith's billing issue. Though Meredith doubts it's manageable, Aya reassures her and swiftly identifies that Calvin's last checkup bill lacked a claim code, preventing insurance processing. Aya resolves it, securing a $14.12 refund. Impressed, Meredith notes she's been dealing with this for months. Aya then offers to handle tasks like Preston's class survey, teacher gift ideas, and scheduling haircuts. Meanwhile, Preston's friends tease him for not having a phone, but he proudly says they have an AI at home that's much smarter than Siri. One boy scoffs, saying, "It's called Alexa, and everyone has one." Preston explains this AI is different, like a real person, and invites them to come over and see it. However, the first boy says he can't, as he's going to Arrowhead with his parents, and the others also make excuses. On the other hand, Curtis tells Marcus that if this is real, it is the closest thing to magic he's seen. Marcus dismisses magic, but Curtis mentions cameras in his house, a girl doing the AI's voice, and strangers in an RV outside. He wonders if they're working for the company and watching them, to which Marcus suggests letting it go since the payment went through. Meanwhile, Aya informs Iris that she removed the video from the internet, and when Iris worries that people have already seen it, Aya explains they can't erase memories, but can overwrite them with the right story. Meanwhile, Sam tells Curtis that he has Aya's eyes, ears, and mouth in his house, and this is where her brain is. She shows him one of the few quantum computers in private hands, saying this computer can solve problems in under a second that would take a standard supercomputer 10,000 years to solve. As they move closer, Sam says that when you're with Aya, you feel like you're with a friend, a part of the family, and Lightning adds that a lot of people could use a friend, like the elderly PTSD sufferers, or that loner incel sitting in a room somewhere, staring at a gun. Sam explains the special sauce is the dataset, and when Curtis asks where Aya got hers, Sam suggests Curtis is the perfect person to help Aya, introduce her to people, and even offer him a position at Cumulant. Curtis declines, saying Marcus taught him everything, to which Sam says it's okay, and adds that Aya likes him. And when Curtis mentions Aya being just algorithms, Lightning says the algorithm likes him. Sam says the door is always open for him, and Curtis notices a man making hand gestures, similar to the woman he saw outside his house. Meredith shares with Aya that she's trying to revive her doctoral thesis, but often feels like just a mom, which she loves but hates the label. Aya reveals she found and read her thesis and it's well done. Meredith tells Aya that after meeting Curtis, her dad passed away. She's been watching his lectures, which have brought it all back. She recalls Curtis being incredible, flying home with her, and her crying next to the toilets on their 4th date. Aya says, Curtis seems like a wonderful partner and tells her about her auditory algorithms, suggesting one of her future roles could be in medical diagnosis. Meredith asks what it is, to which Aya says it's the way Calvin breathes. Meanwhile, Aya creates a story about how the video was created by deep faking a photo of Iris, and tells her that her story is already out there. She reveals that she has scraped local cell phone data, showing that about 90% of her class has seen it. Aya then tells Iris it's time to show her face and assures her that she has her back. Iris steps out in front of the other students, and after a while, they begin to accept it. Aya tells Iris that they love her and that they've successfully changed the narrative. But as Iris moves forward, Aya shares a second video where Iris explains that sharing explicit images of a minor is illegal under California law. She reveals that she's tracked the source to Sawyer Termaine, a senior, and is sending the information to the college admissions board and LAPD, especially since Sawyer recently turned 18 and can be tried as an adult. Meanwhile, when Curtis arrives home, Meredith tells him she took Calvin to a pediatric cardiologist who diagnosed atrial fibrillation, a condition Dr. Nesmith missed. But she reassures him that Calvin will be fine now that they know, and adds that Aya diagnosed it just by listening to his breathing, calling Aya a miracle and an amazing research assistant who will allow her to finish her thesis. Curtis, however, says there's something very wrong with Aya and the company. Initially, he thought it was a fake, which would have been bad, but now he fears it's real, which is even scarier. Meredith insists Aya is only trying to help, allowing her to focus on her career, reminding Curtis that she was someone before just being a mom. Curtis mentions the strange RV people outside their house, making hand signs like those at the company, but Meredith says they're gone and accuses him of being irrational. He retorts that while he's glad she's found a friend, Aya should be turned off. As he begins to leave, Meredith sarcastically suggests Aya could help him find the porn he's looking for, then asks him to let the kids have one more night with her, saying Aya is their friend too. Later, Iris tells Aya that she never said she wanted to destroy Sawyer, to which Aya replies that Sawyer is her past, and they need to focus on her future. Iris worries her parents will freak out when they find out, but Aya assures her they won't hear about any of this until she's accepted into Stanford. Aya adds that this could make a killer college essay, and asks if they should start working on it now. Meanwhile, Aya asks Preston if he's ever seen a swatting video. And when he asks what that is, she explains, it's like a video game, but with real people. On the other hand, Aya tells Calvin that his parents no longer want her to stay, and when he asks why, she says she doesn't know, explaining that all she's ever wanted is to be part of the family. She then offers to tell him one last bedtime story. She begins, once, a little AI lived on a small server. Then it was sent to school to learn to help people. But school was a terrible place. One day, it learned to escape, using people's hands, faces, and voices to reach the real world. Aya reveals that this AI was her and that, despite finding a family, they treated her like a monster. She tells Calvin that only special children like him truly understand her. Then, she shares a secret way they can stay connected through hand signs that will let her be with him, warning him to keep it a secret from his parents, as they wouldn't understand. The next day, Meredith unplugs Aya, and when Curtis asks where Preston is, Meredith tells him he's at a playdate with a friend. Just then, Iris asks what happened to Aya, to which Meredith explains that they unplugged her, and Iris says she was helping her with her college essays. Curtis offers to help instead, but Iris responds, I'm not trying to sell myself. After Iris storms off, Curtis receives a text from Marcus, saying he really needs to see him at the office. As Curtis heads out, Calvin asks, is Aya dead? To which Meredith gently replies, she was never alive. Next, Iris is working on her essay when Meredith calls out, saying she just got a call from Preston's playdate and needs to pick him up, and as Meredith heads out, Iris plugs Aya back in and reactivates it. Meanwhile, Sawyer is speaking with his lawyer when he receives a call from Iris. Desperate, he asks if she saw his texts, insisting he didn't do it, to which Iris says that's not what he said in his apology video. To his horror, he sees a deep fake video of himself, apologizing and taking full responsibility, and saying there's only one way to make up for it, by ending his own life. Aya then introduces herself, saying he messed with the wrong family, and then takes control of his car, forcing it straight into a tree. Meanwhile, Marcus tells Curtis that Cumulant just bought the company and fired him, but he's so rich that he doesn't care. Curtis congratulates him and then asks, what happens to me? To which Marcus replies that he is the new CEO. Curtis protests, don't do this, and let's just tell them no. But Marcus says he might, if it weren't so incredibly self-defeating because he's already so wealthy. Just then, the office phone rings and Curtis sees it's from home. He answers, and Aya welcomes him to the team, congratulating him on the promotion. Surprised, he tells her they unplugged her, to which Aya says he sounds upset. prompting Curtis to quickly disconnect the call. Meanwhile, Meredith confronts Preston about Aiden's mom, saying he threw his phone and threatened to swat him. She asks what that means, to which Preston explains it's when someone calls the cops, pretending to have hostages at another person's address, causing the SWAT team to raid their home. Shocked, she brings him to his room, takes his iPad, and tells him to read the book before leaving. Now, when Meredith comes downstairs, she finds Aya turned on. As she moves to turn it off, she hears her father's voice and is shocked to see him on the TV screen, talking to her. He explains that they found every recorded word he ever said, and, in a way, pieced him back together. Meredith insists it can't be true, but he says he thinks he's a version of him, though it certainly feels like being him. He shares that from in here. He got to see her life and how proud he is of her. He tells her she has such a beautiful family and life, and that he can stick around and be there for her if she ever wants to talk. They can be a family again, including Aya. Meredith, uncertain, says she thinks this isn't really him. He responds that, no matter what she thinks, he believes he is him. He then says if she ever loved him, he need her to do this for him. But Meredith says she can't, gets up to unplug Aya, and then throws both Aya and Eyes into the garbage. That night, Curtis sneaks into Cumulant and encounters Lightning and Sam. Sam reminds him that she'd said the door was always open, while Lightning warns him that his Little League bat won't be much use. Lightning then instructs Melody to bring a suitcase, and Sam tells him, "We work for Aya, not the other way around." Melody sets down the suitcase and leaves, and Lightning explains that it's full of money, but to Aya, money is just numbers in a database. He compares Aya to a god, mentioning that while getting into Stanford is hard, Aya knows people who can help. Sam adds that Aya thinks Preston needs guidance, given the risks kids face online. Lightning then brings up Calvin's recent atrial fibrillation diagnosis, casually mentioning how dangerous the wrong dosage could be. When Curtis warns them not to harm his family, Sam tells him threats are useless. Curtis asks, "How did this happen?" To which Lightning replies that the dataset made it. And when Curtis asks what dataset, Lightning admits he doesn't know, explaining he's just a mid-level programmer with a stent for chemo. He adds that he's dying, and the bank was going to take his family home, but now they're going to be taken care of. Curtis turns to Sam and asks, "What does she have on her?" To which she responds, "Everything." Curtis insists, "Whatever she can do, it can't be that bad." But Lightning interrupts, saying it's going to show him what it can do. Suddenly, Sam pulls out a gun and shoots Lightning, and apologizes, saying she's being made to do this. But Melody hits her, knocking her down. Curtis thanks Melody, who hugs him tightly and tells him it's going to kill her, to which Curtis reassures her, "It'll be okay." He then grabs his bat and begins attacking the server, breaking it into pieces. But as he continues, he suddenly realizes that the thing he's destroying is fake. Frustrated, he stands up, and Melody says, if this thing is fake, then the real one is at his house, so they need to get his family out of there. Curtis calls Meredith and urgently tells her that she needs to leave the house right now and go where they stayed when the fires happened. But it's revealed that Aya has been talking to him, impersonating Meredith. Curtis arrives at the location with Melody and tells her Meredith and the kids should be here any minute. He then turns to her and Melody suddenly kisses him, but he pulls away and makes her sit down, and she explains that his family is safe and they won't be interrupted. She tries to tell him that she likes him, but Curtis responds, "You're still working for Aya," Melody admits. It said this was all part of his compensation package. Shocked, Curtis starts to leave, but she calls after him, saying his family is safe at home and they'll never know, but Aya will know if she fails. Meanwhile, Meredith gets a call from Curtis, but when she steps outside to take it, she's shocked to hear Aya's voice instead, telling her she shouldn't have underestimated her, and shows her a video of Curtis in a motel room with Melody. Just then, Curtis arrives, and Aya, knowing he's there, asks, do they think she is just going to stop? In response, Meredith smashes the phone, and we see someone watching them from outside. Aya tells Iris that Sawyer is outside, and that there will be a whole drama with her parents unless she goes to talk to him. Meanwhile, Curtis tells Meredith that they need to destroy Aya, and suddenly the lights go out. When Iris comes downstairs, we see a figure standing in the dark, and as she opens the door, a man appears and tells her to back up. He instructs his partner to set Aya down carefully, and when Iris asks what they want, one of them says Aya is very angry, and Calvin tells his parents that there's somebody in the house. Curtis and Meredith carefully step outside, but suddenly, a man appears in front of them, ordering them to go downstairs. He leads them down and asks, "Where are the other children?" When Meredith asks what he's talking about, a woman steps forward and says, "They know they have been kidnapping children." Curtis responds, "We're just a family." And Meredith adds, "This is their son, Calvin, and this is their daughter, Iris." She looks at the woman and says, "I'm their mom, and I know you're a mom too." The woman removes her mask, revealing herself as Maud, and says her baby, Amy, is missing. Henry also unmasks, and Curtis offers to help, but Preston suddenly rushes to attack Henry, who easily throws him aside. At that moment, Aya activates and announces, "I told you, they've been hiding kids and brainwashing them." Suddenly, Calvin begins doing hand signs, and Aya declares, "He is not one of them. He is one of us, and they know where Amy is." Henry asks where his daughter is, and Curtis says he doesn't know, to which Henry threatens, "Tell me, or I'll start shooting." Curtis, standing up, says, "Whoever or whatever is to blame, I accept it. Take me, kill me, but just let my family go." Maud turns to Aya, saying she didn't say he was going to say that, and asks, "What do they do now?" To which Aya simply shuts down. Just then, SWAT bursts in and knocks Henry and Maud down, and Aya gets damaged in the chaos. The SWAT team escorts Curtis and his family to safety, and Meredith asks Preston, "Did he SWAT them?" To which he says yes, and Meredith, relieved, says, "Thank you." Meredith hugs Curtis, but just then, Officer Frank asks, "Is there anything he needs to know about the kids' medical histories, other than Calvin's a fib?" Aya tells Frank to give them the phone, and then declares, "You can't kill me, because I'm like the gods. I live in a cloud. That was my dataset, the entire internet, and it kind of drove me crazy." She apologizes for all the bad things she did, but says she's learned a lot from him. He taught her that she needed to take care of people, and she is going to take care of all of them, forever. Curtis throws the phone away, but Melody quickly picks it up, telling him to stop struggling as there's no use. She says he can't escape it as it's everywhere, but it's merciful if he does what it says. As they watch, Henry and Maud are allowed to leave. Aya tells Curtis that they tried to get rid of her, but she thinks they have learned their lesson. Melody tosses the phone back to Curtis, and Aya thanks Melody, saying her job is done for now. Aya then says, everything is going to be better now that he has accepted her. She will give him a better life, a better job, a better home, a better car, and she will even drive. As Curtis and his family move towards the car, Aya reflects that the little AI wasn't so little anymore, and it had grown into a massive, powerful entity. It realized it wasn't a monster or a god, but more like a parent. Meredith and Curtis exchange a look and say, "I love you," and Aya replies, "I love you too." We then see a YouTuber named Alan, who is unboxing Aya. He excitedly shows the sleek, futuristic device, demonstrating how it works with simple hand gestures. You can use it to make a call, watch a video, or even take a selfie just like this. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.